During the past year, there has been a concerted attack upon Burlington Telecom. Burlington Telecom, of course, is an important part of providing internet service to Burlington. What do you see as the prospects for preserving and expanding this city-owned enterprise?
Well, Burlington Telecom is like the million-dollar question. It was, I have to say I probably sat through more meetings on that particular topic in those 10 months on council than any other topic. It's complex, but I think city leaders need to be clear about what our guiding principles should be around this issue. And for me, Burlington Telecom we need to keep a couple things in mind as you make these hard decisions about what to do. And one of them is not to forget the value of a public utility. Burlington Electric Department is a public utility, and an example of some innovative thinking that began several decades ago and certainly went through its growing pains, but required this forward thinking about the potential of what it could be and sort of the principles around what a public utility means. And a public utility means it's owned by all of us. Right now, if we did not have Burlington Telecom, our options for those utility services of internet and phone and cable are one or two companies in the state. And anyone who loves free market will tell you that if there's not much competition, there's not much room for needing to be innovative or needing to be affordable or needing to be responsive to customers. And certainly Fairpoint has had such a lousy track record in the last couple of years. I, for one, don't want that to have to be my only option. And I would much prefer a company that I actually have a stake in as a member of the public, one that we could dialogue with to say, these are the things that we prefer in terms of both content, in terms of cable channels or quality of service or just feedback in that sense. And also, once Burlington Telecom, if we continue to be able to move forward with it, gets to a certain point, it's going to have a real impact on our rates. BED has allowed us to have some of the lowest rates, electric rates in the state, if not the country, and that's because it's a public utility, and we've been able to do innovative things. We've been able to make choices to go green on a lot of the ways that the power comes into our power supply for BED. And BT, Burlington Telecom, really has that potential. We're in a moment, though, where there's a lot of complicating factors for that. So the other principle I would say about how to make decisions as we continue to kind of wade through Burlington Telecom is to make sure there's good process, that we're not making decisions in a reactive way, that we're really looking at this as a something that we're all invested in and that we all have a stake in, and that if we decide that it gets to a point where financing is just too difficult to do for Burlington Telecom, that we're really thoughtful about how we go about selling it so that it's not a fire sale or it's not something that that we just hand over to Comcast or to Fairpoint, because to me that's really irresponsible for how much both we've invested in it so far, but in terms of the what we would be giving up potentially in terms of public control over this utility. So it's really complex, and there's a million different perspectives on how to move forward, because some people certainly don't want Burlington, the city, in any role in terms of having a public utility. And then there's some people who like Burlington Telecom but think that there's too much money at stake at this point. And I think with there's a new, the Blue Ribbon Committee just put out a report, which I haven't been able to read in full yet, which I think you have there.
I have the report right here.
Yeah, that that is one of a few resources we should look at. There's been so many people involved that the City Council certainly has a lot of resources on hand, and I would also want to make sure we looked at all of these opinions on BT and then come to some consensus, and not just completely take the word of just this report, because there's a lot of other things that have been put forward from other sources about how to refinance, if refinancing is possible, what is the value. And again, just like some councilors didn't want to go with what we knew ahead of December in terms of financing options, I would want to make sure that we didn't just go with this particular opinion, that we really looked at finding some common ground and some themes and moving in that direction. So it's really complicated, Terry, but I really hope that we can, first of all, work together and find some way to salvage Burlington Telecom, because I think it is doable, but we have to do it together. Otherwise, the process falling apart alone I think will kill Burlington Telecom.
You mentioned the effect on the our rate structure. I think Burlington Telecom already is investigated the cost of broadband internet service at home, and it would be $30 a month from Burlington Telecom and $40 a month from Comcast. So that's a 25% saving with Burlington Telecom. So, and that's a benefit which is right there now.
Yep. And certainly with the bundling, which means if you got the 3 services, the phone, the landline phone, the internet, and the cable, you know, we are right. Comcast is putting probably weekly out these offers to try to undercut Burlington Telecom's rate, and Burlington Telecom's rate is the rate, and Comcast runs these short deals, and it's kind of like the Walmart. I like to attach them to Walmart because they're another, you know, billion-dollar company that they're trying to compete with Burlington Telecom. And certainly if Burlington Telecom wasn't around, they would not be offering these short-term, cheaper deals in terms of the triple play bundled services, because they wouldn't have to. So it's kind of like if Walmart came into town and started offering, well, they are in town, but if, you know, offering lower prices than the local store, and people started buying into that, and the local store goes out of business, what are people going to be left with? Walmart. And Walmart is known in many communities, once they've done that, once the other local stores have shut down, to start increasing those costs for whatever they sell at Walmart. So for me, I think it's really it's something that we've got to stick with. If we can figure out how to do this, we really got to stick with Burlington Telecom.
In the Free Press yesterday, I believe, there was an article about this this Blue Ribbon report, and it reported that the KISS administration had done their own research, and they wanted to introduce some of their ideas into the report, and they were precluded from doing so. So this isn't really a definitive, objective study. It's a one-side point of view.
As I was saying earlier, I think, you know, I know, at least up until December when I came off the council, the City Council has a lot of resources at its hand. A lot of, you know, people have come in to talk about what is the value of Burlington Telecom, can it be refinanced, you know, the earlier discussions with Piper Jaffray, which is a financing firm. There's been a lot of things that have been explored already. So as I said, I think, you know, there's parts of this that might be useful to use. There's parts of things that the council has already heard about that might be useful, and kind of pulling all of that together is how I think a smart decision will be made, should be made, about Burlington Telecom. And again, in terms of process, the administration should have a seat at the table in terms of help figuring this out. And I have found it really problematic how the media has reported a lot of this, because it has skewed a lot of really what's been going on, both at meetings, but also what was really going on. So, I mean, you know, Mayor Kiss was trying to offer edits. Mayor Kiss was not trying to rewrite the report, which I think was the leading headline of the Free Press the other day. So, in terms of making this a statewide, connecting this statewide again, I think other people outside Burlington need to know that, you know, if Burlington Telecom can weather this, there are, you know, its services can be provided to the rest of the state of Vermont and even beyond Vermont. And the fiber optic technology is something that Comcast doesn't even have and can offer to other places that are struggling to have broadband. So there's so much potential here at stake that I feel like it's not even just what's at stake for Burlingtonians, but also what's at stake for the rest of Vermont, to be able to maybe one day, places like, you know, actually Barrie does have broadband now, but my parents used to have dial-up. So all these, you know, other parts of Vermont to be able to really get online and to, you know, create this infrastructure that we know supports small businesses and the ability for people to live in Vermont and work remotely wherever their business is located. You know, I feel like BT on the you know, long view level can really be an asset for the whole state. So while we struggle here in Burlington to figure this out, we've got to remember again that there's bigger benefits potentially if we can figure this, you know, I don't want to say it's a small bump because there's some significant issues going on, but this particular time period for Burlington Telecom, if we can get through this period, I think there's some really good stuff on the other side.
So our viewers in the other parts of the state should take note and be rooting for Burlington Telecom, because they're going to benefit from it too.
Right.
Eventually.
Yep. Hopefully.